I don't... I'm a child, I know. That's funny. I can't pretend that that is not funny. I'm sure you've heard the chatter sometimes about players that could have represented different nations at an international level. From Erling Haaland's birth in Leeds, making him eligible for England, to Kylian Mbappe's father being Cameroonian, of course, making him eligible for Cameroon. But there is a rather large group of players currently playing that could have chosen to represent Jamaica internationally. So because I like to ask the questions that you didn't even know you wanted the answer to, today we ask, well, what if they did? If you've seen the previous videos I made like this with Suriname, Angola, and the Republic of Ireland, then you'll know that the results have been somewhat mixed, but always had a little bit of success along the way. And most importantly, it's just kind of fun, isn't it? And if you haven't checked out those videos, I've linked the playlist down in the description for your perusal. Of course, I'm always on the lookout for other nations to do this with, so if you have any ideas, of course, put them in the comments. I am still building up a massive list. To set the scene, every single player who has Jamaican secondary nationality in the FM database has now been declared officially for the Jamaican national team, even if they have other secondary nationalities. Today, we're talking about Jamaica. This means they've now gained the services of, to name but a few, Raheem Sterling, Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain, and Calvin Phillips, who actually featured in the last video as well. Man is collecting second nationalities. And we'll be seeing what effect this will have on Jamaican football over a 20-year period and comparing that to a controlled test that doesn't have these changes to see which one does better. I mean, that's not really a huge shock, but we need a control. Of course, just like last time, we'll be stopping in every 2 years to check on the progress of the team, as well as to switch any regens that come through over a certain PA threshold that meet the same requirements over to playing for Jamaica as well. However, unlike the other videos, I didn't have a database available to me at short notice that allowed me to turn on the Jamaican domestic leagues, so that actually will not be active today. However, I have mitigated this by using a database trick to load all of the players from all of the teams in all of the Jamaican leagues, and hopefully that will keep them producing regens if you set it up correctly. So for this, we just have England switched on playable down to the Championship, as well as League 1 and League 2's players switched on so that they'll continue to produce regens too, along with, of course, all of the Jamaican team's players. So that should hopefully give us a nice pool of players to pick from. Jamaica currently sit at the start of this save 61st in the FIFA World Rankings, which is quite a lot higher than Suriname did when we did the video with them, and of course they play in the same exact region. And I feel like they have pretty decent potential to go quite far on their own as well, as in my stream save, they're actually gracing the top 25 there too. And as it happens, I'm actually streaming right now as this video goes live, so, you know, hop on over afterwards if you feel like it. They've only ever reached one World Cup in their history, which was France 1998, where they actually came third in their group after a 2-1 victory over Japan, which stands as their only ever World Cup win, with 2 goals from Theodore Whitmore. This led to them gaining their highest ever ranking on the FIFA charts, which was 27th. But I still believe with a good bit of RNG today, there is a chance that we could get them into the top 20, which I would be very, very pleased with. The closest they've come to continental success were 2 runner-up finishes in the CONCACAF Gold Cup in 2015 and 2017. Their biggest goals to make inroads will obviously be the Gold Cup itself, the North American Nations League, and of course the big one, World Cup qualifying. I want to see them getting regularly to World Cups, and I don't think that will be too difficult given the expansion that we're going to see, but it's a question of what they do when they're there. I don't know, maybe a quarterfinal of a World Cup would probably be a ridiculously high goal, but I think with the right players, it's definitely possible. And given that we'll be taking almost all of the regens that we move over from English sides, I'm just hoping that we can get ourselves a couple of stars, or even just a few like 160 plus PA guys with a nice solid base to build around them, because after all, it does take a full team. But that is more than enough chit chat now. You get the idea. Let's go and have a look at the current national team, which, as you can see, is looking quite good. I mean, obviously there's the players I talked about in the intro. We've got Raheem Sterling in there, Oxlade-Chamberlain and Calvin Phillips, who, out of interest, has he got any more nationalities I should know about? I actually for a second thought that he had Danish nationality as well. Point being, they've also added Max Aarons, Tyreek Mitchell, Jed Spence in there as well, Ivan Toney. There's a decent amount of players in there. Nathan Redmond, Reece Oxford, Isaac Hayden. You can tell that they're ones I've moved over because they have Jamaican second nationality as well. So that's always a good way of telling. I want to see, like, maybe not Sterling good. I think a 180 would be a hell of a push, but a couple of 160s will take it. But before we do anything else, it's time to check in on the control group, which is a simulation without any of these changes that is 20 years into the future to see what we have to try and beat. And I expect they'll have actually done quite well, as they have done in a lot of my tests. Well, that's their national team right now. See if they've got anyone interesting. I don't have the editor switched on this control test because I'm an idiot. So it means we can't actually see the PA of some of the players that they've got. I really should have thought that through slightly better. But let's see where the rankings lie. That's what we really want to see. 31st. Okay, they've not done as well as I thought they might have done, honestly. Their highest ranking that we can see the last 10 years was 24th, which actually means we can see if they went any higher than that because the records will show it. Yes, they did. They went to 21st in June 2030. That's actually quite high. And this is what I was on about. I believe under the tutelage of Phil Neville, of all people, on my other save, they have actually reached, I think, 22nd. I would say I'd be happy if they got top 15. We didn't even get Ireland into the top 10, so it'd be mad if we got Jamaica there. But you never know. Maybe like 12th, perhaps? That would be quite something. I want to see some Gold Cup victories. I want to see a Nations League win. And I want to see them getting out of their group in the World Cup a couple of times. That's my goal for this, but we will have to see. So we have something to beat, because they actually won 4 Gold Cups in the controlled test, and also a runner-up twice. So that's 6, bloody hell. They also reached 5 World Cups, and got to the second round 4 times. Control Group are actually putting down quite the milestone here. The only other slight change to the last video that we're going to be doing this time is when we're doing the 2-year simulations, I'm going to stagger them the other way. That way we don't get things like World Cup spoiled when we have to click back through 2 schedule pages. I can edit it out for you, but I didn't want to spoil it for myself. You'll see what I mean once we get going. But first, we're going to just sim to December 31st of this year to get ourselves a nice jumping off point. I don't suppose much will have changed in that time, but you just never know. So let's get cracking. But let's just check the rankings to see if they've done anything in the first 6 months. It's unlikely to have seen much. Well, actually, yeah, there's usually a little upgrade, and they have gone from 61st to 58th. I think they've actually only played 1 game in the interim, which was a 4-0 victory against Venezuela as well, which is nice to see. Good result. Obviously, Venezuela, not the strongest of the South American teams, but it's a nice sign. What we're going to do is we're actually going to go 1 year here to the next jump, and after that, it's going to be 2 for onwards. That way, we get the nice stagger that we want, so we don't spoil any World Cups or other tournaments for ourselves. So the squad is looking like this. You can see Raheem Sterling is up there, which is nice. That's the main important thing. He's still playing in the team. Still a very good team, but we don't really care about this right now. Okay. So that's a thing. They've actually gone to 41st already. I mean, they are motoring. I presume this means that they've obviously had some success in some of the Nations League stuff over 1 year to go from, what was it, 61st to 41st now. But I think they'll have more chance of success because they're going to be playing in the Gold Cup and stuff like that. And I think there's going to be a chance for multiple wins of them. They're going to have to win plenty in order to keep up with the control test. Right, let's just see what's happened over this year that they've just played. That'll do it. They actually did lose the Gold Cup final to the US, though. They got there. So that's 1 Gold Cup final they've reached already. A 9-0 victory over Trinidad and Tobago. That's a quarter-final result. To put 9 past someone at a quarter-final level is mad, but reaching the Gold Cup final is really, really good news straight off the bat, and it's given them that lovely bump up the rankings almost immediately. And you can see that they won that group very, very easily, and they just need to keep doing it. Over 1 year, if there's any players that are worth moving over. It's unlikely there'll be any major ones over a single year, but we'll see. You never know. Any youth intake's possible. Actually, that could be a lot worse. For 1 year to get 3 guys that are sort of noticeable here, there's Calvert Barnes of Stoke. You've got Radane Moulton of Arsenal as a goalkeeper, which is cool. And then Jermaine Williams of Charlton as well, which is why I'm glad I turned these slightly lower leagues on as well. So 4 guys in the first year is not bad. I do want to start seeing some 150s, but the fact that we got 2 guys above 140 in the very first season is really good news. Let's quickly check on the ranking to see where they're currently... Oh my God. It's been 3 years. We've won. Cancel the video now. We've already beat the control. Not that that was really ever in question, but when I saw that go to 21st, I figured that's going to be really tough to beat. Not seeing any Raheem Sterling, which does make me think he might have actually retired. So my first port of call, I suppose, is to check in on Raheem Sterling. Having a look, and yes, he retired from international football in August of this year. So I'm guessing there was something in there, undroppable due to form of country. Once again, doubt. How did they get on in the schedule? So the schedule is now a flip. So any World Cup years should be in the back one and not the first one we see. So we can actually jump to this right now. And, well, it's a green year. Jamaica are going green, apparently. So we can actually see the Gold Cup there, and they've won 1. So there you go. That's the first Gold Cup win, beating Mexico in the final by 3-2. 2 for Ivan Toney. He's killing it. Marshall Rutty there with the 85th minute goal, which sort of just wrapped it up. They actually came from 2-0 down to win a Gold Cup. So that's certainly going to have helped them in there, which they also won. So they won a Nations League and a Gold Cup already. They beat Mexico in both finals. That's remarkable. Cameron Archer and Ivan Toney doing the business again. And yet again, they came from behind. Mexico have thrown away back-to-back leads in back-to-back finals against Jamaica. And now without Sterling, obviously, there's possibly going to be a slight drop, but I think they've just got a really good squad. That is a huge jump up, though. To go to 20th in the world in 3 years. Now, obviously, it's going to be an upward struggle from here. But if they keep winning these, at least, it should hopefully bump them up some ranking points. But what's really going to take them into the top 15 and further is whether they can do any stuff in the World Cup. So, World Cup qualifying group right now, this is Group B, and I think, bloody hell, that's not the final group, is it? Excuse my lack of familiarity with the exact methods of qualifying for the CONCACAF region. I'm just surprised to not see any of the nations I would have expected to see in that. I assume there is a final qualifying group that I'm missing out on here. That Canada result at the end of the last little simulation check-in was the last game they didn't win. They've won every single match in the last 2 years. Oh, no, I tell a lie. I'm totally wrong. They're in World Cup Group E. with Spain and Uzbekistan, they have to be getting out of that group. With Spain and Uzbekistan, they should be beating Uzbekistan very comfortably. And whatever happens against Spain, they should qualify to the next round. So I think we're certainly going to be looking for a second round performance for Jamaica. And depending on who they draw, that's what a start. Let's go and see if they've got any new players, though, coming through that we'll maybe see in 3 or 4 years that could potentially turn the tide. And they had some good players after just 1 season. So with 2 seasons now to go under the belt here, hopefully there's going to be some quality. Let's see what we got. Oh, well, that's a bit of a letdown, I'll be honest with you. Now, obviously, the players I move over during the save will disappear from this list because they will no longer have Jamaican second nationality. So the best 2 in the last 2 years, Marvin Wesley and Nikolai Ross of Everton and Millwall. There's also Omar Henry here of Stoke again. Stoke churning out great players. Jared Daniel of Boys Town. So Boys Town are actually a Jamaican side, but he's Trimbagonian first nationality. And they've also got here a Christian Oxlade-Chamberlain. Is the brother, I believe, of Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain. Yes, he is. Yeah, I remember having him on my Pompey save back in 2014. Who remembers that one? Who was around for that one? Just, we really could have done with those guys there to keep the momentum going. But still, I'll move these guys over and we'll go for another 2 seasons. Then I suppose if there's... Oh, actually, O'Neill Brackenridge. Is a youngster from, I think he's a real player actually, from Ipswich, although I'm actually not sure now that I think about it. If you see any players that look like real players but actually are regens, it's because I have the Z-Gen pack installed from my other save, and unfortunately it's sort of, there's a lot of cross-pollination of ID, so that's why some of these players will have real views. Have a look at the under-20 squad, see if there's any major players coming through. There is. Duvet Matt, which honestly when I'm in bed for a long time is what people have been known to call me. Any in there as well? 155, Christian McFarlane of LAFC. Any crazy ones? And oh my god, I mean, their domestic league is killing it with some of the players it's producing. This is the benefit of us actually switching on the league's players, at least, if we can't have the leagues themselves turned on. He feels like he could make it big in Europe, which is awesome. If they're in the top 20, I feel like they might be, you know. Wait. Hang on, that's not even the... Oh, it is. Oh my god. I thought there might have been a peek into the top 10 there because of the way it was. They're 12th. After 5 years, they're 12th in the world. This could not be going any better if it tried. This is awesome. So let's just straight to the schedule. You've got to see what's going on here. And they couldn't quite get another CONCACAF Gold Cup. And well, there you go. Isaac Hayden is completely at fault there. That 3rd-minute red card surely must have been the kicker there for them as they fell to a 3-0 deficit. Also Nations League in here as well, which seems to be going relatively well. They've won that Nations League group. They'll go through to some stuff next year. But what we really care about is the World Cup the year before. Did they get out their group? Oh, baby! Oh my god, they drew with Spain. Okay. We thought they would beat Uzbekistan. That seemed like a pretty much guaranteed result. Tony with a brace. 1 for Reece Oxford, 2. They actually came from behind again there. But they got a draw with Spain. Ansu Fati gave Spain the lead, but Mikel Anderson with the equaliser comfortably pushed them. They beat the... Oh my... Sorry, I didn't even notice this. I was literally just so concentrated on the Spain one. They beat the Dutch. Bailey and Shamar Nicholson with the goals, coming from behind yet again, this time to beat the Dutch. Then they beat the Uruguayans as well. Did they come from behind? Of course they bloody did. Maximiliano Gomez gave them the lead, but Tony and Shamar Nicholson again. And then they got to the World Cup quarterfinal, but admittedly they got absolutely hammered by Argentina with Buendia, Tagliafico, Martinez and Romero, but... who cares? A World Cup quarterfinal. That was what I said at the start was going to be like, if they do that, then it's like, that's insane. World Cup quarterfinal for Jamaica. Bloody fantastic. That's amazing. Maybe they can go deeper in a World Cup if they get some good players coming through, but I do worry a little bit about that. Hopefully that's not the case. Although that being said, even if they don't get great players from the English sides, it feels like the Jamaican teams are producing some godlike talent at the moment, which is amazing. While we're here, let's just have a quick look at the youth rating. Can we do that from this menu? I think we can, can't we? Right? Yeah. So youth rating is 15. Wow, 59. That's super low. I don't know what it starts as. I'll put it on the screen what it actually starts as because I always forget to check that. They're producing some bloody good talent considering, is all I'll say. Hopefully there'll be some good players for us to move over. And oh yes, there is. Lovely. A 155 is still not as good as some of the regens, but he's at Liverpool too, which means hopefully good facilities will help him. Rashad Foster, just have you guys have a little look at him here. Oh my god, he's actually got really good technical ability as well. Moving a little bit further down, there's also Peter Ogilvie in there as well. Delmar Linton too. Anyone else? I mean, it might only be 4 guys. Kean Taylor. It's only going to be 4 guys, but at least they're of higher quality. Like a 145 and a 155 straight off the bat is really, really good. I feel like it's that time of the video where I apologize for speaking a bit fast sometimes, or all the time. I get excited. It happens. Right, so I'm going to move these guys over, and we're going to go 2 more years. So national team-wise, you can see that Leon Bailey actually is the still the best player in there, but you can see, obviously, that O'Neill Brackenridge is currently of those... Oh, that's good, though. The fact that Brackenridge and Christian McFarlane are both now in the full national team, and both of them are doing bloody well, frankly. They've both got solid CAs in there too. The lowest PA in the national team, actually, there is a 1-2-3 in there, so I might have to just look at some many players slightly below that and maybe go above 120. I reckon they're probably going to be no higher than 12th, would be my prediction. Yeah. They have quite literally just remained exactly where they were for the last... Oh, no, hang on. No, tell a lie. They went to 11th. They briefly dipped up to 11th spot. Tony's now the captain, Oxford the vice captain, and Rural Waters is their best player. You can see that they don't maybe have that top end, but actually, you know what? Premier League players like Robinson and Tony, very solid, with a couple of lads at Bremen as well. Most recently in the last season, and they lost the Gold Cup final to the US this time. Balogun and Otasui with the winning goals for them there. They beat Mexico in the semis, which shows that they still have a lot of quality. Playing a slightly different system now, which suggests perhaps a change to the management structure as well. They're looking very, very good. The question is, though, was there anything the previous year before that as well? Wow, there was just nothing. There's nothing. They beat the Mexicans on penalty, and the US are now starting to get their revenge with Yunus Musa now. So they've actually now lost to the USA in back-to-back finals as well, which might have prevented that extra step up, and also would have prevented them from catching the USA. Win the group with Trinidad and Tobago and Canada in there too, looking fairly straightforward. No real issues there. Let's see who they get in their World Cup group. This is kind of important. They need a winnable game in here, and ooh, that's tough. With Spain, I mean, they got a point against Spain, for example. It was a really good side and what would be considered quite a weak side. Chile and Switzerland are nowhere near on the level of Spain, most likely, but they're a lot better than Uzbekistan, and it feels like this could go... They could either win this group or come bottom and winless. That's the issue, and, well, we're going to have to find out about that next time as well. That friendly with Belgium will be a fascinating experiment in there too. Oh, a Swiss player. Okay, this is kind of cool. Also, Troy Williams, 158 at Leeds. Yes, love some of that. What about Troy? How are we looking, Troy? Another striker, temperamental, volatile. I don't know if he's got the highest professionalism, which could maybe hamper his development a little bit, but first team football will be key for Troy Williams. And also Francois Burton of Young Boys, which is not a combination I expected to see, frankly. A Swiss Jamaican there who just speaks all the languages. So yeah, definitely get him moved over as well. A right back, they could always do with some of that. Anyone else really? There's Pele Lambert. He's destined for big... I mean, he's not because he's 132, but in theory, he's destined for big things. As right now, best player in the squad, actually, well, PA-wise, is O'Neill Brackenridge, who doesn't seem to have developed much more on his CA in the meantime, but he does now play for Atletico Madrid. For example, Shwain Binns of Brentford actually is in here, which Shwain as a first name is fantastic. Peter Ogilvie and Rashad Foster as well, a couple of players that we talked about earlier, are also in it too. So there's definitely a few regions now starting to break into this first team squad. Imagine if there's a top 10 in here. I have a horrible feeling we're going to come back and it's going to be like 16th. Come on, please, 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 please. Oh, it's worse than 16th. It's 18th. Where was the blip? Yeah, there was the 11th place. They stayed 12th, and now they've blipped all the way down to 22nd and back up to 18th. And see what's happened. Oh, well, guess it's not the end of the world then. Would you look at that then, friends? They've won another Gold Cup. So that's their second Gold Cup. They've got a runner-up spot as well. Making good progress so far. 2 goals for Leon Bailey there again. Tyler Adams could not pull them back into it. Nations League is going superbly well as well. Also, the Nations League final, they lost that to Mexico. So they've been in a Nations League final and won a Gold Cup in the same season. Seeing what we saw in the world rankings, I reckon they've lost both games. My God, okay, they didn't lose both games, but I suspect that they didn't qualify either, as you can see here. In fact, we can see that they didn't qualify. 0-0 draw with Chile. O'Neill Breckenridge doing a great job there. 6-1 defeat to Switzerland. What on earth? Oh yeah, they just got absolutely tanked. The Leon Bailey penalty. I mean, Okafor with a hattie, Zakiri and Amdouni with the goals. I think I just massively underestimated Switzerland and also Sylvain Hefty. Speaking of, France have actually won both World Cups in this save and have now won 3. Germany, France, Germany, France, France. Wow. Oh, thank God. I got a bit concerned there. I got very concerned. There is actually some players that are worth transferring over, and quite a nice little chunk of them, in fact, at least. Ronaldo Jeffrey in there too. Sean Taylor of QPR, I might move him over as well. But more importantly, we've got Alfred McFadden, Andre King, Simon Davidson, Shamar Butcher, and more importantly, Michael Little of Southampton, who I think might be one of the best players they've had come through so far. But before I do move those players over, I just wanted to draw a bit of attention to Hardly Doobidad, who just... That is my favourite name for a long time. Hardly Doobidad. Some of the youngsters, like Shwain Binns is still the youngest player in there, and none of those new guys have really forced their way in yet. Jason Francis of Peterborough with 111 PA is in there. And I suspect it's just because they needed centre-backs. It does look like they're a bit light there, but surely they had someone else. Now, to be fair, it could just be that he was getting a random call-up. And actually, we could see at the very top here, they are in the World Cup. So now we know that information, I suppose. Any under 23? Oh. Bloody hell. Okay, now we're talking. Could we have him in the full squad, please? Ashek Waite, who is 16 years old and has 173, and that's Arnett Gardens, isn't it? Yes. Ashek Waite. Well, they do need a centre-back, and it turns out it's going to be him, hopefully. Now, actually, as a centre-back, 5'10", 10 jumping reach, he can get better, obviously. Have they gained any ranking? And my guess is they're going to be around about the 15th place. Please don't drop any further than that. Okay, they have. Okay, cool. They've slipped again a little bit, which we expected. Real Sociedad hoarding the lads there, it seems. But we do need that next chapter of players to come through, which does also make me a little bit concerned about their successes in the meantime. But maybe they've kind of reached a peak of what they can get in success from Gold Cups and Nations League type of successes, and now they really need World Cup success to get any further. Let's just see, where are they in the most recent year? So another Gold Cup final, but this time they lost with following Balogun with a hat-trick in the final. Yeah, pretty much as smoothly as you like. 1 goal conceded, 6 wins out of 6, bish bash bosh, into the next World Cup. Okay, so they actually got to the Nations League semis again, lost to the States, and then actually lost the 3rd place playoff with yet another red card. Belgium and Ecuador. Belgium, very tough. No doubt about that, very tough. Ecuador is a team that I feel like they should be on a good level to give them a game. And I think if they can beat Ecuador, that's going to get them through. The question is, have they produced any players that we can actually go after? That's a real question. So, shortlist, give me someone good. Or don't. Either's fine. Nicholas Campbell of Wolves, and then Jonoy, which I really like. In theory, really, someone called Jonoy really should play for Wolves, or at least a Midlands-based team. So now let's have a look at the under-20 squads before I go and sort these guys out and get us on our way. So let's see if they've had any success on the youth level. So yes, in fact, they have. Runner-up in the under-20s World Cup in 2023, which is fascinating to me because, of course, most of the players we moved over were senior figures that probably wouldn't have been in that squad. So they clearly had quality, and a 3rd place 4 years ago. North American Nations League, we all know about that. Any kind of interesting things. They actually won Olympic Games qualifying. Does that count as a win? Can we claim that? And also the North American Under-20s Championship, they've won that as well, which is, I guess, something, but no real... I mean, they've not like won Under-20s World Cup, but they have come 2nd in one. I would have just expected it to be later. How is squad looking? Well, I mean, that actually is really, really good news. That Ashek Waite is straight into the squad. Michael Little of Stoke is now in there too. O'Neill Brackenridge still doing bits for the national team as well. It's lovely that he's been their goalkeeper for such a long time. Doesn't seem like he ever really maxed out his PA. Interesting. Yeah, that's kind of strange that actually, considering he seems to have got game time quite frequently. But if you look at the younger players of the squad, they've actually got both of those guys that we found last time around, I think. I suspect that, well, let's just find out. There's no point in making predictions here. Oh, God. It's gone worse. They've got a new manager, though. Latanzio is the new coach, but they've slipped down as far as 23rd. Right, enough about that. Let's get into the schedule page. So, Gold Cup semi-final. You can feel it slipping slightly. They lost to Mexico in the air. They always get to the Nations League finals, but they never seem to be able to get through. But the question is, how do they get onto the World Cup? That's what we want to know. Please don't show me 2 defeats. Please don't show me 2 defeats. Oh, no. Sorry, I misread that. I didn't notice that there. They did get through with a 2-0 victory against Ecuador. Marshall Rutty and Christopher Pearson with the winning goals. Belgium humped them 4-0, but then twatted 5-0 by Serbia. Ilic, Alexic and Milic with the goals. Oh, to be fair, the last time they went out of the World Cup in the next round as well, they also got humped 5-0. In the Mark Schwarzer Stadium. Things you love to see. I think the key now is what sort of players have they got coming through? England, please bestow on upon us. Well, I don't know. Give me like a couple of 150s would be nice. Is there anyone this time around? Not really. Richard Elcock and Andre Roy of Fulham here are the best. There's actually a few players. There's a good like stock in terms of quantity of players, but none of them are like stars, and that's really a problem. Also, I just need to check in on this. I saw Fulham sign someone for £90 million, and I gotta know what's going on there. 3rd in the Premier League? Holy jeez, what is going on at Sorry, I'm a Fulham fan, and this is just... How... I don't... I'm a child, I know. That's funny. I can't pretend that is not funny. It's Desire de Kock. Sorry, Desiree, I'm guessing. But still, that might be my favourite thing in the entire video so far. But I've won 2 Europa Leagues and a Super Cup. What is going on? They got a Tycoon Takeover in 2028. Bloody hell, Norwich is 4th in the Premier League. Fulham and Norwich, turns out, can play together. And when they do, they become an unstoppable force. I've never seen so much variation in this. This is strange. Ashek Waite is still the best player in the team, as we would have imagined. And all these guys... finally! Walder Talbot. Took him long enough. He's actually now at Bolton. Dominique Chance. So you're saying there's a chance. There does appear to be. I mean, look at these guys here. The future looks quite bright with these guys. That's enough of that. Where's the rating? Please don't tell me they've dropped further. Please, Jamaica, I beg of you. Oh, God's sake. So let's see what they've been up to then. Anyone... Oh, God. Quarter-final of the Gold Cup. Well, that's just depressing. What about the one before that as well? That was the sort of season. And again, they make the Nations League, losing the semis, then losing the playoff final. Different. I saw Georgia and Angola, and I actually thought that was the World Cup group for a second. Portugal, they've got an icicle's chance in hell. Zambia, I feel like that's a really good game for them. I feel like they should be able to beat Zambia, although if Zambia were capable of getting through African qualifying, there's clearly some quality there too. Let's go and see if they've got anyone good for us to hopefully carry us forward. I think really to have a chance at being an impactful player in the 2042 World Cup, which is kind of what we're looking to at this point, they would need to be good now, and we need to find someone, surely, please. Anybody at... Oh my god. Wait, that is the right one, right? Yeah, it is. Oh, England, you've let us down. The best player this time around is Everall O'Brien of Millwall. 121. Now, I don't know what it started as, but the last time we looked it was 59. And now it's 60. So Jamaica's squad, what have we got going here? So Ashik White, still the best player in the team. Still only 22, of course. And he now plays for Benfica. Now, is that a loan? Is what's going on there? No, it's a permanent signing. 1.4k. Godlike price for an insanely good player. He's got 43 caps for Jamaica at the age of just 22. He might be the type of player that we could potentially follow the rest of his career maybe at the end. I know we like to do that with a player. And Ashik White is the guy, basically. Please tell me that they did well in the World Cup, and please tell me that they've not slipped into like the 30s or something, and now they're still 28th. I don't know if this is good or bad. This makes me worry that they've actually screwed up the World Cup so bad. Niko Kovacs is now the manager as well. Let's check it out. The most recent season. Semi-final of the Gold Cup, this time losing to the States. They're just not on that level anymore. Again, get to the semi-final of the Nations League. Bang. Lose to the USA, lose to Costa Rica. I'll be very surprised if they got out that World Cup group now. Please tell me you beat Ecuador. Please tell me you beat Ecuador. Oh, not Ecuador, sorry, Zambia. They did, and, well, the old enemy, Argentina came back. It's because Shuain Binns was sent off after 16 minutes. They were admittedly already 2 goals down. That's not the point. They have reached the second round of the World Cup now 3 times, but on 2 occasions now, they've been dumped out by Argentina by a 5-goal margin. With another red card. Okay, genuinely, the red cards seem to be costing them more than anything else. Against Zambia, though, that was better. Bailey Lucas and 2 for Rashad Foster with a 4-0 humping there. I mean, will there be any players that are good for the future, even if they're not going to be able to make an instant impact? That seems very unlikely. Let's go find out. Well, actually, to be fair, after getting sod all last time, we do get Darnell Bartley and Paul Pert. Darnell Bartley at 154 is really good, but these guys are just not going to make much of an impact by then, I wouldn't have thought. Whereas the rankings, 26. Okay, so they've sort of stabilized at the moment, and it does feel like it's sort of a pathway back up again, hopefully, but whether there's time for that, I don't know, since we've literally got the World Cup next year. Hopefully they've qualified for it. We can see that, well, they have qualified for it. We can see it at the top there. So let's just see what the last year has had in store for them. And again, falling at the semi-final stage. As for the CONCACAF World Cup qualifiers, again, fairly straightforward. They're better than Canada. They're better than Barbados and Cuba. They seem to have re-established themselves a little bit there now. What was the previous season? Anything interesting in there at all? Hey, they did actually reach the Nations League final again. They didn't win it, but they did get there. Watch this be like a genuinely awful group that they've got no chance of getting out of. Oh, actually. Portugal again. They've already lost 2-0 to Portugal in a World Cup. Where is the World Cup being held? Independence Park is in... That's a home game, Matt. That's a friendly, you idiot. Oh, so it's been played in Germany. I think if they beat Iraq, that's them through to the next round, and they'll get one more chance. But to be fair, 4 World Cup second round qualifying is pretty good for them over the 5 World Cups, especially with that quarterfinal that they got in the first one. Maybe with the luck of the draw, they could maybe do it. This is probably the best team they've had for a while. Actually, tell you what, I'm so used to seeing the Jamaican players on this side and not the English Jamaican chaps, but there you go, actually, that's not bad. Marcel Dobby, Clayton Martin, who's already wanted by everybody, apparently. So I'll switch these guys over, and then it really is the home stretch. Can they do a big one at that final World Cup? Okay, what are we doing here? Fulham they've won the Club World Cup for a start, and they're also runner-up in 2041 as well, somehow. Point being, they were in the Champions League final in 2034. What happened there? That was ages ago. I'm just trying to hunt down the player that they bought for like 90 million, but I don't think they actually bought him. I just saw a thing saying they were in for a guy for 90 million. There's a guy called Teixeira for 89 million. I think he played for Villa. Holy shit, Villa have a dude. Oh my god. Okay, that's a different story entirely. Villa have a dude with 200 PA. Thomas Salcedo, who's an Argentinian, who's 31 and got 13 Argentina caps. He has 200 PA. Oh, wait, no, that's really recent. It's the same dude, but they didn't sign him in that window. They just literally have still managed to sign the guy, but it was around about here, I think, when they actually signed, or didn't sign him rather, and they were bidding like 80, 90 million pounds on him. And the reason I couldn't find Villa signing is because he actually came through at Aston Villa. Let's see where they at. Let's see how our man is doing in that team. Boom. Where's it going? There he is. Ashek Waite, 25 years old now, still playing for Benfica. Michael Little now at 147. Who is their best actual current ability player? It is actually Ashek Waite. Let's have a look at the profile. We'll be able to tell real quick if there's anything good. Oh, God. Why you do this to me, Jamaica? But I suppose it's not like, not every one of these videos can have the really exciting thing happen at the very end or in the latter stages. We just had the exciting stuff up front for once. Okay, so let's see how the World Cup went. Watch them lose to Iraq. Why? They lost to Iraq through Hurdy Salam. Fair play to him. But then drew with Portugal. By the way, World Cups have been a bit dull in this save. We've had Germany, France, Germany, France, France, Germany, Brazil, Germany. Brazil just there to buck the trend, apparently. And it was Argentina, Germany in the final. But yeah, they ended up with 2 CONCACAF Gold Cup wins instead of 4, which I believe they got in the control. They did come third 3 times, so they reached 5 finals of the CONCACAF. But yeah, 1 Nations League win, 3 runner-up spots as well in there. They actually came third in the Pan American. Where did they manage that? Oh, it's under 23s. I was going to say, I don't remember seeing that in the fixtures at all, but they did actually come third in that one as well. Tons of North American under 20 championships. No more under 20 World Cup successes, surprisingly. Suppose we should check to see if there's any. Watch there be like a 180 now that we've set. Never mind. Can't even have nice things when I try to bait the game into giving it to me. So then, friends, it is a new day, and more importantly, we are 8 years into the future. I didn't feel like going any further than that, as I figured he might have retired, and then we wouldn't be able to backtrack to actually find him with his proper league stats, who is actually still playing. He is 33 years old. He's now playing for Al Sadd as well, so he's been around a little bit here. Ashek Waite, where did he... So he actually ended up playing for Benfica the entire time. Well, actually, no, that's a fair number of appearances. I think what it was is it's weighed down by the fact that he didn't play a lot at the very beginning on 170 grand a week. And you know what, Ashek? You get that back. But also 177 caps for Jamaica. That is an insane amount of caps. It definitely isn't what it was, and I'm curious to see if they've lost out on any main talent. They've got a guy at Chelsea here, of course, and Donald Rivers, who's part Cayman as well at Fulham, and obviously we know that that means quite big things because Fulham are apparently massive. So let's see where they sit in the rankings is... Oh, wow. That's so interesting. So despite the block off, which would have been around about down here, because obviously I know it says October 2050 here, but this is a 10-year chart. This was about where we left off, wasn't it? This sort of area here. So they rose all the way back up to 15th place again, and they have these huge jumps. There's got to have been some, like, successes on an international level. Obviously, that was the disappointment in the World Cup. Following year, they lost the Gold Cup final on penalties to Mexico. I wonder if that would have helped them potentially. They had quite an interesting run to reach that far in. Lost the Nations League final on penalties to Mexico. They do love losing on pens to Mexico. That's less than ideal. They were very close to a few wins there. Then they, would you believe it, they lost the Nations League final on pens to Mexico. Can they go for 4? And no, they just lose in normal time to Mexico. Oh, this has not gone well for them too, right? That doesn't matter. The World Cup is to come. Do they, I mean, they look like they've qualified fairly straightforwardly. Do they get out of their group? No. Draw with Belgium. Great result there. Yet another red card has cost them. Wow. These red cards in major tournaments are the death of Jamaican football. And then Paraguay lose 2-0 fairly comfortably in that one as well. But luckily, Nations League is back, so naturally they'll lose in the final on penalties to Mexico. It's not Mexico, but it's Trinidad and Tobago instead. Also, what is that pathway? Oh, that's a semi-final. Never mind. It wasn't the final. It was a semi-final. It's slightly different, friends. Worry not. That they did lose, however, the semi-final on pens to Mexico, which I assume is what you thought I was laughing at. I didn't even notice that until now. Luckily, they've got another year to go. What happens then? They go out on not pens to Mexico and then win the playoff against Canada. Stayed pretty strong, just never quite strong enough, it seems. And the following year, after that, they lost the Gold Cup. I think the most unlucky team in world football. Surely just statistically they're going to win one of them, but no. World Cup qualification. Okay, this is their last chance to make something happen. They look like they've qualified fairly straightforwardly, and they did get through their group with a 7-0 hammering of Uganda. Things you'd love to see. Only lost 1-0 to Portugal before going out 3-0 to Serbia. Weirdly, their World Cup exits, if I recall, have come twice against Argentina and twice against Serbia. Interesting there. And obviously the Nations League, they've done really well. Presumably, though, they'll get past Costa Rica and... well, go out in the final on penalties to Mexico. Let's be honest. One last little check then is there any players they've missed out on in that period? So, anyone interesting that they might have missed out on? Oh, a little bit. Do you know what? Not that many. To be fair, this is all the players that could have switched over that haven't, obviously, in the meantime. And honestly, other than maybe these 3 dudes, Leon Adai, Lamar Richards, the biggest one they've lost out on, clearly, it is Terrain Smith, who's already a 165 CA at 23 years old and actually would probably be the best player in their team at this stage without a shadow of a doubt. He's outrageously good. Oh, don't mind me. It's just Norwich having won 2 Premier Leagues. In spite of that, with the fact that, you know, Fulham have won a random one, Norwich got a couple, City have still been quite Manchester City. Norwich, though, sneaking in there with the Europa League, as of Luton Town. Big up the Hatters. I'm just enjoying the fact that we now technically are in a universe here where Luton Town would have played in the Champions League on account of them winning the Europa League. So once again, we find ourselves in a position where they got to, well, they got higher than I thought they were going to, actually. I thought that maybe top 15 would have been good, considering what we saw from the control test. And to go to 11th very quickly was very pleasing. It's just, we're always one position short of a really nice finish. If you have enjoyed this video, drop a like, that'd be fantastic. If you're new to the channel, subscribe, stream on Twitch, doing it right now. Let's go and discuss Desired Cock, shall we? I'll see you guys soon. Thank you so much for watching. Hold your gun, capybara